The idea of a retro future has been around in the car world for quite some time now, and for the most part it's been a resounding success. Think Fiat 500, think Beetle, think PT, I'm only joking with that one. Some, sadly, weren't so successful. Think, well, PT Cruiser, although sales figures would say that one's not really a disaster. Think Ford Thunderbird, which in my head is only a disaster because of the sales figures. Sadly, and I think unfairly, people also think Jaguar S-Type. And I think it's about time we stopped and thought about what a great car this actually was, and give it some credit that it really deserves. A cheap, rear-wheel drive, V8, sometimes mini luxury saloon, with a lot of bang for your buck. This is a quick look at the Jaguar S-Type. Unknown to many, the S-Type story actually begins way back in 1963. Jaguar was having a bit of a nervous breakdown between the end of the Mark II and the beginning of the XJ6. Not quite being ready to launch the XJ yet, and continually delaying it, meant that they were frantically trying to keep people interested in the range. Unfortunately, this led to quite a bit of bloat. Jaguar launched the original S-Type as a more refined version of the Mark II, adding more modern features like independent rear suspension for better handling and ride quality. The S-Type was, for many people, kinda hard to distinguish from the Mark I and the Mark II of yore. The only real giveaway being the hoods over the headlights and a rear that looked more like the Mark X. But the Jaguar range at the time sold the S-Type, but also still the aging Mark II and the 420, all at the same time, catering to the same market, which all looked very similar, and one of which, the 420, had the same name as the Mark X, which got renamed to the 420G at the same time it was on sale as the 420. You see why this got confusing. So really, the cars that people remembered were the Mark II and the Mark X. Still, the S-Type stayed in production until 1968, when the XJ6 would come along and fix all of Jaguar's problems. Though that's a video for another time, and the S-Type name would be laid to rest for more than 30 years. Fast forward to 1998, and future nostalgia is sweeping the car world. Nearly 20 years later, future nostalgia would sweep the charts. Jaguar, now owned by Ford, was in need of a mid-sized luxury sedan to compete with the BMW 5 Series and Mercedes E-Class, having only got the XJ luxury saloon and the XK sports car. So, looking for something to slot into the range, they brought back the name S-Type. Built on the same platform as Ford's Lincoln LS and Ford Thunderbird, the new S-Type was Jaguar's attempt to bring the past to the present. Being based on this platform meant it was a smaller car that still had room for the bigger engines from its XJ stablemate. It had a rounded front grille, twin circular headlights, and body lines that echoed the 1960s original, and the interior featured wooden trim, analog dials, and soft leather seats. On paper, this was a textbook Jaguar. But from day one, nobody really knew what to make of it. The S-Type was meant to be a classy throwback to Jaguar's heyday, but to many it just looked like a confused mix of eras. An awkward homage that worked for other car companies, but not for Jaguar. Some hated the front grille, others found the proportions to be off. Many just didn't understand why Jaguar had gone backward in design while the rivals in its class were moving forward. Retro looks were for these cutesy smaller cars, not for big executive saloons. I mean, the XJ was a bit of a callback with the 4 round lights, but it had the proportions to do it right. It was relentlessly criticised for how it looked, being called by many the ugliest thing on the road. But really, was it that bad? Because given the context of cars that we have today, I think it's actually not the worst. And it was a rear-wheel drive saloon with a big honking V8, depending on which spec you got. That should be more than enough. Now, I know that saying a car has the underpinnings of a Ford Thunderbird hasn't really meant anything since about 1957, but as a sum of its parts, the S-Type was a recipe for a damn good car. You could get it with the 3-litre V6, which was a first for Jaguar, a 4.2-litre V8, which meant they probably could have called it the 420 if they wanted to. Or, if you were feeling brave, the S-Type R, which was the one that really matters, and if you're a Gran Turismo kid like me, that's the one you remember. This one was fitted with a supercharged engine from Jaguar's sports car of the time, the XKR, as well as their flagship, the XJR, which gave the S-Type 155 miles per hour, limited. Arguably, it was the best looking of the bunch as well. Or if you're a bit more frugal like myself, it also came in a diesel. After 10 odd years, the S-Type was replaced by the XF of Ian Callum's design, a sleek, modern sedan that left retro completely behind and helped usher in a new era for the big cat. And say what you will, love it or hate it, but the S-Type was still undeniably Jaguar. And this was an S-Type that you actually remembered, probably unlike the original. To this day, the S-Type still doesn't look like anything on the road, except for that Chinese puppy, but we'll not talk about that. The Jaguar S-Type dared to be different in its segment. It was never the most popular or the best reviewed, but it was, again, unmistakably a Jag. In fact, if Jaguar released it today, people would still distinctly think of it as a Jaguar, despite sharing no design language with any of their current lineup. I say current lineup, they aren't selling any cars, but you know what I mean. But I think the problem was, back then, the type of people who wanted a Jaguar, well, they just bought an XJ. And the type of people who wanted a mid-size executive saloon, well, they wanted something German. They wanted an Audi, they wanted a BMW or a Mercedes. The Germans really had taken over this market. This was one battle against the Germans that the English just weren't going to win. So what do you think? Does the Jaguar S-Type deserve all the hate that it's got over the years, or is it about time that we all decided, you know what, this is cheap fun and cheap luxury? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Tomo. For more car history and Gran Turismo stuff and gaming stuff and working on cars and garages, subscribe to our channel and watch some more. Check out our web store, buy t-shirts. I'll put some here. We don't have a Patreon or anything like that, so I figured t-shirts is the way to give you something back. I'm wearing one now. It's got a Pink Floyd edition Mark III Golf on it. Where else are you going to find a t-shirt like that? That's what I ask. Anyway, thanks very much for watching and see you in the next one. Good luck.